Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Shabby Craft Studio. My name is Martha, and I greatly appreciate you being here. I have been experimenting with ephemera folios. I have had some success, many failures, and I thought I would share with you how I've come about to find the happy medium between success and failure. I prefer to think of these as successes, but we'll see. So, if you haven't before watched the Gail Augustinelli YouTube video on ephemera folios, she has, I believe, 2, maybe 3 videos on that, and I suggest that you go watch her. There's also another video which I'm going to list below, and I forgot to look it up. I believe it's Took's Craft Table or Corner. I'm sorry. And she did a variation on Gail's folio. So I wanted to sort of combine the two, and I have been working the last few days. I did a bunch of videos yesterday, but there were so many failures that I just deleted them all, and I thought I'm going to try one more time to share with you all how I have done this. I hope it helps someone else avoid some of the mistakes, and I will try not to bore you through repetitive things. So if you like this video, I'd really greatly appreciate a thumbs up and subscribe and some comments. This was the one I made yesterday, but I deleted the videos before posting them. So I have made this with a 2-inch spine, which I had some problems with. So however you like to do your spine is how you should do your spine. I'm going to show you my method, which I'm still trying to perfect because, as I said, I had some problems with it yesterday. This is the folio. I am not zoomed out enough to show you the entire thing open all at once, but I will slide it across, and this is the back page of the folio. So there it is. That's the whole thing. And this one, despite all of my mistakes, I am extremely happy with this one. So we are going to get started. I am going to show you, well, first, let me show you a couple of, let me show you my not so well put together one. This one was the first one I did. It's pretty and all. The binding turned out nice, but I really messed up on the pages. The depth of the pockets is not nearly enough. I had a lot of trouble seeing, especially on this patterned paper, seeing the plastic. I don't have the greatest eyes in the world, so my pockets, when I had stuff in them, all the stuff was falling out of the pockets because they just weren't deep enough. So, you know, education. So this one's going to be remade. I'm going to take these pages out and make new pages with deeper pockets. But I'm going to keep the cover because the cover is really pretty and I really like it. Okay, this was my first go at a folio, and the only reason I did this was because I wanted somewhere to keep my full pages when I print off digital prints, and so I used mini document protectors for the smaller bits, and I used regular document protectors for the large pages. And all I did was, and I can fit a lot of pages in here. There's cardstock, there's tracing paper, there's heavy copy paper in here. So I really like this one. It might not be for everybody, but I used twine and eyelets, and I can untie the twine and add more document protectors when I print off more digital sheets. So this one's working for me and I really like it. If you're interested in me showing you how I made this one, I would be glad to do a video on that. Just leave a comment below. So we are going to get started on a similar folio to this, okay? So I have a supply list here already for you, and I will also list all of this stuff below. So you will need two 12 by 12 double-sided cardstock weight papers. I am using Tim Holtz Ideology papers here. It's, you know, not heavy cardstock, but it's sturdy. If you don't have this and you have other 12 by 12 paper pads that you want to use up, you can glue two 12 by 12 pieces of paper together back to back. If they're white on the back and you don't want the white, you can also collage over them. Just make sure that the glue you use, whatever you use, you can bend the papers because you have to fold the bottom of these up. You need a piece of chipboard or cardboard to make your spine, and it needs to be 9 inches tall by 2 inches wide. You need fabric or paper, or however you usually cover your spine. However you want to do your spine, I will show you the method I'm using. You need pages for your folio. I am using a 65-pound weight cardstock because I am finding it easier to see the clear plastic on this than on the patterned pages. I also think in this folio that I made yesterday that it's really easy to see the ephemera on it, as opposed to a patterned page, which to me makes it a little more cluttered looking. But hey, do your own thing. I am not the folio police. I am just here to share. So for me, I'm using the 65-pound weight cardstock. You can use whatever pages you want, but it needs to be heavier than copy paper. Document protectors. Document protectors come in various weights. You want a pretty thick document protector. Mine are not the heaviest you can get, but it's what I have on hand. The flimsier the document protector, the more difficulty you're going to have sewing, in my opinion. And you are going to need fabric glue, scissors, a paper cutter, a scoreboard, or if you have a paper cutter like this, you can flip this up and use this divot in here, this channel. You can use that for scoring. If you don't have a scoreboard. A scoreboard is pretty helpful in this process. Your bookbinding tools, you want your thread and your needle and your pokey tool, and some paper clips. I didn't add that to this list, but I will. You need a sewing machine and your thread of choice. Make sure it's a pretty good thread because you're sewing through paper and plastic. You want a sharp needle in your sewing machine, which keeps reminding me that I need to change my sewing machine needle and haven't done that yet. And I'm using, this is optional, I'm using Wonder Under heavy duty fusible web and an iron. And the Wonder Under looks like this. And I get it in sewing departments here in the United States, usually like Joann's, but I think Hobby Lobby and Walmart possibly carry this. Can't swear to it, but that's what I use. Any fusible web, double-sided fusible web will work. Heavy duty. And an iron because it's fusible web. So your cover is made from the 12 by 12 sheets, and it's going to be 9 inches high. The the inside pages are going to be 8.5 by 11. So if you're using 12 by 12 sheets, cut those down to 8.5 by 11. I made my first one with the pages 9 inches deep, and they stick out the bottom, and I don't like that. I did find that the 8.5 by 11 fits perfectly. So the other thing is that your document protectors will fit an 8.5 by 11 page inside them. So you want your document protector to cover the entire page. So let's get started. I've said way too many times this morning. I'm sorry about that. It's a bad speaking habit. I will try to avoid that. Alrighty. I have my 12 by 12 sheets here. And the first thing we are going to do is we want this sheet to fold in this way. So here I'm going to, and if my calculations were better, I would do this a little differently. I would move the score line over so that my outside page, this is going to be my front, that's going to be my back. So my, or maybe not. Yeah, this is going to be my front. So my outside page, this is going to fold in. I always have to think about this. So that makes this my outside page, but that's going to be covered by the binding somewhat. All right, let's just do it this way. I'm not going to mess you up at this point. What we end up doing is we end up cutting off about 1/8 of an inch over here. So I really could move. This is, half would be 6. And if I wanted to make that a little shorter, I would move it over just a notch or two beyond the 6. I'm going to move it over a notch beyond the 6. So a notch to the right of the 6 for my front page. And that's going to make this side a notch, which is probably maybe 1/8 of an inch shorter. And that way maybe I don't have to cut it off. So I've done that. Or you can do 6 inches and cut it in half and cut this edge off. I may still have to cut the edge off. I don't know. Now, we are going to rotate this. This is my top. Rotate it to the right because you want to fold your bottom up 3 inches. You want your cover to be 9 inches. So you're going to fold that up. Right? And then you're going to fold it. So my inside cover is a little bit, I hope you can see this, is a little bit shy. I'm trying to make it so you can see this. A little bit shy of the outside cover. But there's a reason for that, and I will show you what that is. Now I need to do the opposite for the back cover. And now I gotta think about that. So I need this side to be 1/8 of an inch shorter. So instead of at 6, I'm going to go left of the 6 1 notch and hope that I'm doing this right. This part I did not do yesterday, but I've been thinking about it. Oh, shoot. I did that in the wrong place. All right, so here's our top. We want to fold our bottom up. We rotate it to the right. This is my top. And we are going to score at 3 inches because we want our pocket to be 3 inches deep. And I have a hard time with scoreboards because I always break through the paper. Even cardstock, I break through the paper. Okay, so don't knock your garbage can over because it'll make a mess. Put your scoreboard aside for the moment. And we're going to fold this. And that's going to be our back page. And this is going to fold up. Now, you'll see when I fold these, they don't really lay flat. And the reason for that is because this center is too bulky. So we're going to unfold these, fold them in half so it's the full width. I flip it over and I take my scissors, which are missing in action. Oh, they're over by the sewing machine. Okay. I'll have to use my short scissors. Not my favorite thing. All right, so I'm going to press this down really flat. And I am going to just cut off the very minimum, a hair of this paper here, because we want to have a V. Like, I am just like cutting the fold. And you're only going to cut up as far as this, where your score mark is. And I did not cut quite. That's why longer scissors are better. Didn't quite get it all the way. I might have to get up and get my longer scissors. There we go. So let's turn this over. So you can see this little V mark here just goes up to my score line. This is going to help the fold lay flatter. Okay? There. See how much flatter that is? So we're going to do the same thing on this one. Fold it in half, score it really well, and we are going to just a hair, just the tiniest bit, just up to that score line. I mean, this is literally how thick this piece is. So once again, that's the little bit that you're cutting off. And now it will lay much flatter. Okay? So we have our front and back covers. And we are going to now do our spine. Now yesterday I messed up my spine pretty bad, and I don't want to do that today. So I am going to do my best not to mess it up. I like to use my board with my lines on it so that I can put this down, and I am going to get some washi tape. I don't know if, you know, this is a great way to do it, but it seems to be working for me. And so if you want to make your spine stay in place with the washi tape, I do have one tip. You want to make sure everything is lined up really straight, and you want to leave a space between the cover edge and the binding, and the space has to be big enough so that when you fold it, there's some give there. And I don't know if I didn't make mine wide enough yesterday or what happened, but I did mess mine up. So the washi tape, you don't want too much of it hanging over onto your cover, because it may show when you put your fabric on. And my stomach is growling, and I sure hope you can't hear it. I did not eat breakfast. I was so intent on getting this done. So as you can see, I have more of the washi tape on the spine than I do on the cover. And I'm going to move this over a little. And I am going to put it where I want to have the space. And I hope this space isn't too wide now. And line my cover up. And now I got to try and get this washi tape off of here. Ay, ay, ay. This is, I have to tell you, trying to show somebody how I did something is so extremely stressful for me. I don't feel like I've ever been very good at teaching anyone anything. So it is really, really stressful for me. I have a lot of anxiety about messing things up or steering people down the wrong direction. But my whole idea is that I want to inspire other people and hopefully help other people be brave and do what they want to do and not be afraid of it. So, all right, so I've got that taped together. Now, I have pre-torn my fabric, and I have one that is a little over 3 inches wide, so that it's covering the whole thing. Oh dear, that's a little shy of being long enough. Oh no. Oh, all right, I'm gonna have to tear another piece of fabric. Sorry, peoples. I'm sorry. Is this one long enough? This one is long enough. Okay. Yay! Yay for having something sitting there that was long enough and wide enough. That doesn't normally happen to me. I usually have to jump up and figure it all out. Okay. So, on the inside one, you want it to be just long enough to cover the cardboard. And you can always shorten the top. But your pockets have to fold up. Like thus. Now, the other thing you can do, this I've had a little problem with. You can figure out what works for you. You can fold your pockets up, glue them down, and then put this on, which I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so obviously I skipped a step. So I am going to, oh, I did skip a step. Oh, darn. Okay, I have to get my big scissors. See, I knew I couldn't do this whole video without boo-boos. I just can't do it. I get thinking too far ahead. All right, we are going to just put a very small, just cut a hair at an angle, and I mean really, that's like a hair off of this angle here, this pocket, and the same thing with this inside pocket here, because you want them to fold up and not get in the way when they fold in. Okay? And this is all thanks to Gail, because she's the one who figured all this stuff out about how these fold in and how they don't. And I'm going to fix this one here since I messed it up with my little scissors. All right. So now we have these pockets that can fold in, and that's going to fold up. This can fold in, and that can fold up. So we have a little give here, a little space, and that's what we want. All right, so we're going to glue, hopefully, if my glue wants to cooperate. And you can also, before you put your spine on, which I could easily take this off because it's just on there with washi tape. So if I wanted to, I could take that off. And we are going to glue these up. Maybe. My glue doesn't seem to be sticking. You could use Fabri-Tac for this. And you could also sew these. Before you put your spine together, if you want to sew around your cover, you can do that before you put your spine on. So I did jump ahead on that a little bit, but that's okay because it's all going the same place anyway. It's like mixing your food all up when you eat it, instead of eating everything separately. It all goes the same place in the end, right? So, alrighty. Now, if I wanted to run this to the sewing machine and sew all around this, I could definitely do that now. I'm not going to do this on this one. Hopefully I haven't messed anything up. When I did this one, my spine was not put together correctly. And before I put my pages in, I ran the whole thing through the sewing machine. It can be done, even with the spine on. Okay. Okay. So now let's see if I can get it together. So what I do is I have these two pieces of muslin that are a little over 3 inches. They're maybe 3 1/8-ish, 3 1/4 inches wide, because yesterday my overlap was not enough and my page was coming off of my spine, and that frustrated me to no end, which is why I ended up sewing it on, and I don't want that to happen again. So what I've done is I have this is my fusible web here, okay, and I'm going to iron this on to this piece, and I'm going to iron that one onto that piece. Now I have my iron preheated. You need to follow the directions on the box. And let me pull this through here without burning my hand. So this is my little craft iron. It's awesome. I think I got it in the travel department of maybe Walmart or something. I'm going to iron this out a little bit. I'm not anal or anything. Much. Okay. And I am going to lay this out. And I did not cut this one long enough because I did not cut my other fabric long enough, and I measured it against the fabric. But I will show you how I will fix that. Okay. Now the reason I use the fusible web is there are two reasons. I do not like the double-sided carpet tape. That stuff gummed up my pokey tool, it gummed up my scissors, it gummed up my needle. I did not like it. I've used it a couple of times and I just cannot make myself like it. I don't like it. So I've decided to try other methods of making my bindings that are covered with fabric, making them a little in a different style. So I just am putting a little piece on the top to fill in that gap. I want some fabric at the top and bottom, not to have this on it because that part won't be glued. Now that goes on and you let it cool a bit. And I'm going to do my other piece. Straighten it out a little so it's not too wonky. Alrighty, and this piece fits perfectly. And I do not this interface double-sided fusible web. I keep calling it interfacing. That's not what it is. It is not as wide as the fabric. You need a little bit of space on each edge and the top and the bottom. You don't want it to overlap the fabric because this stuff gets everything gummed up. This is a Teflon iron, which also makes it wonderful for using for this. Okay, so this one has cooled off. I gotta let that one cool. I'm going to move this and I am going to tear the outside paper of this off. You have to tear the paper off because this paper is slick and you don't want it. That's not the part you want to glue. Maybe. I have no nails. I go through stages where my nails get really soft. There we go. So that's the paper that comes off. And this is the one with the extra piece of paper at the top, so I have to take that one off too. Uh-oh. I don't like it when it does that. Now, if it doesn't come off in one big strip, if it starts peeling off in a bunch of little strips, you may not have hit it with the iron quite correctly. I have had problems with that. This stuff it can be a challenge, and you never, ever, ever want to touch your iron once you've peeled it off. Don't ever do that, because you'll gum up your iron and make a mess. Okay, so this is going to go like this and cover up my spine and on each side of my cover here. I am not going to iron this down. You could, but I wouldn't guarantee that it would hold strong enough. If you were just going to sew through it, you could definitely do that. But I am going to cover this with my Fabri-Tac. And I am going to put it on quite well. And the purpose of using the tape is that, number one, you can sew on this if you wanted to. Number two, the fusible binding, I'm sorry, I'm trying to concentrate. I can't talk and walk and chew gum at the same time, and I just stuck my hand in that glue. I mean, my arm in that glue. The fusible web helps the glue not soak through the fabric. I can't guarantee that if you saturate this, that it won't show through at all, but I have not had a problem with this so far. And that is one of the reasons I like using the fusible web. Oh, my hands are not very strong. All right. So I am going to, that's the bottom. Oh, that was the bottom. I am going to lay this out. And it's not even. Of course. Of course it's not. Because I'm doing this on video, right? Luckily, Fabri-Tac gives you time to play around. Oh. Oh. Only on video do I have this much trouble. Always. Always. Let go. Okay. I am respacing it because I don't like it. I think it's too far apart. And all of you that have a lot more experience in this than I do, I give you credit for being good at this part. I'm really bad at spines, I think. All right. Alrighty. I am happy with that. Now let's see. Let's see if, yeah, it folds over just fine. And I actually am going to give this just, I haven't done this before. I just hit it with the iron real quick. I don't know if that'll affect the fusible or the glue, but, you know, that's what I'm doing. All right, now we have to do this side. Oh, dear, that's not very much space in there at all. Oops. Yeah, I have to pull this apart a little bit. Here to tell you. Oh, I am having a tough time, people. And I need to thin out my Fabri-Tac as well. Okay. Well, you get to see me make a bunch of boo-boos in this one, too. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. That I am happy with. All right. Okay. So now we're going to do the other side. We're going to peel the paper off. And you could put the glue on the fabric. You can put the glue on the paper. Whichever works for you. All right, so I am... Really should have thinned this out before I started this. Didn't think about it. All right. And because I have sort of the line to follow with the other piece of fabric on the other side, I know how far over to put my glue. Oh, I'm squeezing with all my might, and this really is hard to get out of the bottle. Arthur isn't very happy. That would be arthritis. Okay. All right. So I feel like that's a good amount of glue. I am going to pop this over the top. And try and line it up, Martha. It has to go that way a little bit. So you can see a little bit of my glue coming through. But I think that'll dry and you won't see it afterwards. So if you want to use this method, hey, go for it. If this isn't your cup of tea to use this method, that's fine too. All right, I am going to unplug my iron because yesterday, don't tell my husband, but we left the house and I forgot to unplug my iron. The last thing I need to do is burn my house down. So I am unplugging this and moving it. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. I just kicked the camera stand. All right. So we now have our... And again, I could take this to the machine and zip it through the machine if I wanted to at this point. Right now, we are going to work on the pages. And I will probably cut this off, but I haven't decided yet. So the pages. Here we go with the pages. I have done several of my pages. I need to see where I'm at. 39 minutes. Ugh! I'm going to try and keep this under an hour, but it might go a little over an hour. All right, so I have 9 pages here. I want 3 signatures with 3 pages each. So I've taken my pages. This is my cream colored cardstock, 8.5 by 11, 65-pound weight. I think it's 190 GSM is what the label says. I am so sorry. I need a cup of tea. Cheers. I actually need a good stiff drink right now, but I don't drink, so there's that. So, all this stuff makes me so nervous. It gives me great anxiety. So what I did was I took my sheets and I used my scoreboard again. And you want to score this at 5.5, because that's half of 11. As bad as my math is, at least I know that much. And just fold it. I like to use this one. This one doesn't leave marks on my paper. That one leaves marks on my paper. It leaves shiny marks. And then, but that one's too thick to use on my scoreboard. Again at 5.5. We'll just do that one more time. And I'm forever ripping my paper on my scoreboard. I'm too heavy-handed with it. Okay, there's that. So all of my pages are now scored in half, and I did pre-cut some of my document protectors as well, but I want to show you how I do that. And yesterday I messed this up really bad on camera. So I don't want to do that today, and I need to close my glue because we all know what happens to the glue if you don't close it. Okay, so my document protectors, I take this side, and you see this little where it connects and it's sealed to the whole section of the document protector. I cut that off. So I line it up on my scoreboard, on my paper cutter, and I hold it down firmly because you don't want it sliding around because, you know, it's plastic. And I toss those. I don't need to. Now keep, this is where I messed up yesterday on the video. Keep your document protector in this position. The long side, the 11 and something side, you want this way. And what you want to do is I have been cutting mine at 3 1/8 because your pockets, if they aren't deep enough, the stuff will slide out. So I need 9 of the 3-inch deep, 3 1/8 inch deep. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what I've been doing is on each sheet, I do 2 pockets at 3 1/8. Okay, so there's an extra one in case I mess something up. Which, as you know, is always something I do. And then this one measures to about 2 1/2. That size works for pockets. You can use the 2 1/2 pockets, or you can save these to make, you know, windows in other things. I have, in this one, I have used ruler. I have used, oh my gosh, please. All right. I have used the 2 1/2 inch pockets at the top. And I used the 3-inch pockets at the bottom. Note, when you sew, you will lose some of that space. And the 3-inch pockets hold things a lot more securely. But if you're going to have little tiny things, then, you know, reaching in is going to stretch your pocket out a little bit. But there's plenty of room because this stuff does not, when you sew it, it does not compact the pocket so it's hard to get into. There's lots of space to, I mean, I have short little chubby fingers and I can get into those pockets with no problem. So you can use the 2 1/2 inch pockets on the top. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5. So I need a few more of those, and I have one extra 3-inch pocket I can use. Okay, so I cut that off, and then I'm going to make some 3-inch pockets for the tops as well, because I have a lot of stuff I want to, start storing in these. Like a lot of the Tim Holtz stuff, and that stuff is bulky. So that's 3, 3, and that leaves this one to be 2 1/2. So I'm going to make one more and show you again. So I'm going to cut off where the holes are and just slide the document protector down and do 3, 3, and you have to hold this plastic in place, and then I have another 2 1/2. So that should be plenty of pockets for me. All right, so what we are going to do now is I am going to turn the camera off, and I am going to turn it around so we're at the sewing machine, and then I will be splicing this together. So I will be right back. Before we go to the sewing machine, it helps if you put them document protectors on the page. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So this is the bottom of the document protector, which would normally be the side if it's turned this way. So it's already sealed. I like to use those on the bottom as much as I can. And I use these large metal paper clips. I have found that it's the best way to hold everything in place. So I put one on the side. I put one or two on the bottom. Now, this is a folded piece. It folds right over the edge. So I don't worry too much about it sliding around as much as I do the unfolded pieces. So this is this is the top piece, the top pocket. So I have, if you see, I have the fold with the little sort of stitching that is fusing it together. I have those on the same side. And what I'm going to do is you have to leave yourself some space at the top, of course, to put things in. Plus, I found with my other one with the pockets that were too small, they were also too close to the top, and everything was falling out every time I picked the thing up. So I am choosing to put 2 pockets in instead of 3, and I'm choosing for them to be a lot deeper. And I hold it very taut, and I put in, oops, there goes that paper clip, and make sure it's even on the back with the front. This stuff will pick up everything in the way too. It's very staticky, so it'll pick everything up. And then I put one there. And what you want is you need your back and your front to be lined up when you're sewing, because I have missed several pockets by them not being lined up straight. So you do want them lined up. And when I sew, I flip this over. So this is the bottom. I flip it over and I sew from the bottom up, and then I flip it over. What did I find worked best yesterday? The bottom up, and then I did the bottom on this pocket and the bottom on this pocket, and then I turned it this way, so this is the inside, and I did the bottom up again. So what you're doing is you're pushing everything to the loose edge so that your pockets will stay, and then I sew up the middle. So I'll show you once again how I apply the pockets. So I take a pocket, and this one is not folded on the bottom. So it's a loose piece of document protector. And I'm going to line it up to the bottom, not past the bottom because you lose too much then. Line it up to the bottom. Pull it taut so it's straight. Paper clip it. And then on this one, I have to paper clip the bottom too, because you have to make sure you're catching the bottom, the back side of this while you are sewing. And you want everything to stay in place while you're sewing. And then you take another one, you take your top pocket, even though I have it turned upside down. Okay, so that's the bottom. Take your top pocket, and see, that one's sealed, so that's not going to work. You have to cut that seal off if you want to use that as a top pocket. And then, and see, on the patterned paper, I could not see this plastic at all. It was driving me insane. It was so hard to see. And I'm trying to make sure there's no little hairs or dust particles or anything else in the plastic. Okay, and make sure I pull it from this side, make sure it's taut. And yes, this is sort of a pain, but these things are not going to tear as easily as, say, the tracing paper or the vellum that you use. You know, sure, it's a lot easier and a lot quicker to glue those pockets on, but honestly, I think this is going to hold up a lot better over time, and it's just going to make it a much nicer folio, in my opinion. Okay, so this one does have the fold in it, so it's going on the bottom. And I just tuck it in there and pull it taut and paper clip it. And I do as many of these as I can, as many paper clips as I have to fold it. And because it's folded over the bottom, you don't need as many paper clips for this one. Oops. And then you take a pocket for the top and place that where you want it, allowing enough space to get into the bottom pocket and making sure it's lined up front and back. Sheesh. Okay. There's something on my plastic and it's driving me crazy. I'm not anal. I keep telling you I'm not anal. You don't believe me? Yeah. Okay. And again, I will sew from the bottom. I'll flip it over and sew from the bottom up. And once that's in place, the thing you have to be most careful of is sewing across this way and catching this edge on the back side too. Don't want the hairs in there. I have a dog that sheds. So, unfortunately, sometimes there's little hairs, and these document protectors will pick everything up. Okay, I'm shutting the camera off. Then we're going to go sew once I get all of these put together, and I will show you how to sew a couple of them, and then I'll be back to show you that. Hey, everybody, I'm back. I am at my little sewing machine. So I am going to try and show you what I was describing earlier. I'm sorry the light is not better. Let me see. Might be better, might be worse. I don't know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, here's my page with my document protector pockets paper clipped on. I am going to take, this is the top, this is the bottom. I'm going to flip it so that the bottom is on the top, and I am going to sew from the bottom up on the sealed side. This is the sealed side of the move it over, of the document protector. So bottom up. If you do it from the top down, you're going to catch the loose edges and it misaligns everything. So bottom up is the best. Uh-oh. That didn't work very well. And I do back stitch. Now when I get to this one, I want to make sure that everything aligns and does not shift around. So I hold it very tight over here with my fingers. And I do back stitch, like I said. Oh, I should have brought scissors over here. Okay, now what I've learned is I flip it over and I go across the bottom. Even though this is sealed, you want to go across the bottom and across the bottom. So again, I'm going to go across the bottom. This is the bottom of the page. I'm going to sew across here, and I'm going to, oh my goodness, the light is terrible. A little bit better. And I'm going to sew across the bottom here. So I'm turning it sideways, and I am, now this one is pretty easy. I'm not going to say anything's easy. It's a lot easier to keep aligned because you do have this pocket that folds over the back. sewing machine does not like to sew in a straight line. How's that happen? Okay, and again, this is the side I already sewed, and I am going to sew the bottom going towards the loose end. This one, you have to be extremely careful that you're catching the plastic on the back side. You have to make sure it's lined up. Even though you sewed this edge, these can become misaligned. So I hold them at the edge down here on the end, and I sew not too close to the edge here, because if you do that, you're going to miss the page on the back, trust me. Now I try and pull the ends really tight. And so now I have my bottom sewn and my bottom sewn on this pocket, and it did catch the back. Yay me! All right, so now we still have this edge that we have to sew up. So again, I flip it upside down and I sew from the bottom to the top. And then just to finish it off, I sew across the top because, you know, I can. Okay, and then the last step is you sew up. Oh, I wish the light were better. You sew up the center line. So this is how the page sits. These are your pockets here, but you want to sew up this center line to help support the pocket. So I flip it upside down and I sew from the bottom up again. And voila, you have your page. So that light's a little bit better. So we now have our page that folds. We have our pockets in here. Pocket there. And pocket there. Open it up. Pocket, 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 pocket. Fold it, pocket, pocket. Okay, so I'm going to sew the rest of these, and I will take you back to the desk when it's all done, and we will assemble the folio. I'll be right back. Hi everybody, I'm back. I was able to sew all of the pockets, and I made it the first time around on every one. I didn't miss any of the bottoms of the pockets, and they all came out really nice. So I have already made my holes in my signatures, and I've already sewn this signature in, because inevitably when I am doing this on camera, I will mess it up. Now these pages are a little not cooperating, but I think over time they will. So I am going to sew the center signature in, and I'm not the best at this, so I hope you bear with me. And make sure they're right side up, of course, because you know the other way could happen. And then I would have to tear it all out, which is pretty much my MO for a lot of things. All right. So we're going to go back through, and back through. Through. Uh-oh. I really do like making covers this way, and I can see me making a lot more covers, not necessarily for ephemera keepers, because I now have 3 of them, one which needs to be remade, but that's okay. But yeah, I could see me making a lot more covers in this method because I really like doing it this way. And I like using these papers that way. I don't have a lot of double-sided paper pads, but the ones I do have, I need to start using. Because, you know, hoarder. Because, you know, we think we're never going to find it again. Well, what I've learned is it just gives me an opportunity to find something new to play with, and that's fun too. So I am trying to get these a little more even and pulled tight. Oops, I forgot to do this. So, yeah, we're having a streak of hot weather here in Virginia. It's been 90 or better. The good thing is it's been pretty low humidity compared to what we usually have. So there's that, which I'm grateful for. And we had a little bit of rain. A lot of people around us have had more storms than we've had. A lot of times we can hear the thunder and the sky gets pretty dark, but it hasn't really actually rained over the top of us. Which we could use a little more of that, because when it's this hot, it's just cooking everything. Oh, my goodness. Okay. And last one. Oops, that's not the way I wanted to go. I did my last one where I did it from the outside in, and I sort of got in that habit. which is why I keep doing that on this one. But I decided not to do that on this one. So now I need to do it the right way. Okay. I should have sewn 2 of these in before I turned you back on. But I didn't, so now you get to suffer with me. Oh my gosh. What the heck? I am having such a tough time today. So I hope if you have all stayed with me through this, that you'll give this a shot, because it really is fun, but it often, for a lot of things I do, it takes me several tries before I find the method that actually works the best for me. And so that's always, you know, that's okay. That's all right. You have to find what works for you and how you like to do the stuff you want to do, and you know, the changes in it that you want to make. This one actually came out the best, so I have to say I'm really happy with it. So there we have it. It's all done. 3 signatures, 3 pages per signature might be a little stiff. I don't know. But, you know, once you tie it shut, it's going to be okay. And there's lots and lots of room. Let me show you. So there it is finished. I'm going to just cut the top of this off just a little bit, but I have a plan for it, so I don't want to cut off too much. There we go. do have a plan for it. I just haven't totally figured that one out yet. So, as you can see, tons of space for lots and lots of ephemera, and it's going to be a fun little folder to play with. I had my roll of sari silk here. Let me find that real quick if I can. And it's not over here. Darn it. So it's got to be near my desk. But who knows where, because there it is. It's not a roll. That's why I couldn't find it. So I have my ironed sari silk. I have a whole roll of it not ironed, but I couldn't find that just now either. It's there somewhere. This might be a little tight, but see, once you tie it, it'll train itself to stay shut. So how pretty. How pretty is that? So I hope you guys have stuck through this with me. I'm off to edit this video and share it with everybody, and I hope you will go play with your double-sided paper pads, your cardstock, if that's what you choose to use for the pages. If not, use whatever works for you. If you want to use some more double-sided cardstock up, go for it. It's very pretty inside, but I just have to say that for me, sewing on the cream-colored cardstock was easiest. Use whatever thread you want to use. Just make sure it's strong. I would use a cotton, not a polyester. Bind it like you would any other journal, and then fill that little puppy up with whatever kind of fun ephemera you have. So thanks for joining me. As ever, I'm grateful for you being here. I heart you guys. Love ya. Hugs. Happy crafting. Thanks again for visiting my Shabby Craft studio, and I will see you next time because I have more things to share. Take care, everybody. Bye.